Just waiting for it to go red. Right. Good morning. So, morning, everyone. For those that have joined on National College, good morning. Today is all about informing you about health and safety and what your role as the governor, so the link governor for health and safety, or just as a general awareness for your board if you haven't got a link governor for health and safety. What I'm going to do is go through two presentations. So the first one is a general induction on health and safety and how we run it as a trust and what our expectations are of the schools, the head teachers and of the health and safety leads within your schools. So that will hopefully give you a really good awareness of what we buy into as a trust, what our culture is, and then what kind of give you some ideas on how you can support your schools. And then the second half is a bit more of an in-depth presentation on the self-audit and the inspection process that we buy into. So a bit more information on how you can support your schools and the type of questions you might want to be asking them. So I'm going to share my screen. Please feel free to ask questions throughout it if you remember it, or jot it down and you can ask it at the end. Okay, so my name's Kate Staples. I've been with the Trust now for over 3 years. Health and safety falls under my remit as Chief Operating Officer, but there are also leads at each of the schools as well. So bit of background on me. I came from the fire service, which obviously everything was very health and safety through and through everything that we did. So it's an area that I do enjoy working on. And then I've really enjoyed having a bit more of a lead on it within the Trust. So this presentation will help you understand how we operate as a trust, help you understand the SLA that we buy into, which is really important because you know what is available to you as a school. Also understand how your schools should and will be reporting incidents and how to access training, what's expected of your health and safety leads, and also what we expect in terms of meetings and what they should be going to, and also what you can attend as well as leads if you're particularly interested or want to learn more for your role. So a bit of kind of information on how we operate as a trust. So we've got the Chief Executive Officer, Richard Redgate. He's the accounting officer, so he has overall arching responsibility for health and safety. Now there is some delegation to schools, and we can look at that as we work through this list here. So he delegates the lead responsibility for the trust to myself. We also have a chair of network, Louise, who's on this call at the moment. She's been very successful in leading her school in health and safety and does a lot of best practice, but is also a great leader for health and safety. So she chairs our network meetings, which I'll tell you more about later on. We have half-termly network meetings, and we use these to raise issues, discuss best practice. The unions join us as well on those because obviously they're really interested to make sure that we are doing the best by our employees and we are supporting our leads the best we can and disseminating the most up-to-date information so they can do their jobs as best as they can. I report to the unions termly through the JCNC mechanism. So we have a meeting, I send them a report, and they'll kind of pick it apart, they'll ask questions right through to incidents. If there's been a RIDDOR, for example, they'll want to understand it. And particularly, they're very interested in violence and aggression, which, of course, being a special school trust and having different SEMH settings and alternative provision, we have got a generally high proportion of violence and aggression incidents compared to a maintained school. So they're very interested to understand how we manage those. I also use the same report to directors termly, so that goes through to the Standards and Strategy Committee, where we've got a lead health and safety member who again will scrutinise that report. And we also purchased this SLA with Staffordshire County Council. Now it is with Staffordshire County Council, but it covers the whole of our trust. So those schools that are outside, so Adelaide School, Adelaide Heath, Finchwoods, and then we've got Shenstone Lodge and Solihull. So they provide exactly the same service for all of our schools, whether they're inside Staffordshire or not. So what's part of this SLA that we buy into? So for me, it's an absolute peace of mind that I've got someone on the end of the phone that's a specialist. And if they're not a specialist, they know a specialist. So it's really important for us as a trust that we've got a second pair of eyes, a second opinion. So any decision we make that we're not quite sure on, you know, it could be anything from do we need to shut a school through to we've had a really severe incident. They will support us and they'll manage that process for us. So they act as our competent person in line with the health and safety regulations. So it just gives us that extra kind of peace of mind that we're doing exactly what we should be doing. They also provide us with an audit process, which I'll talk to you more about after this presentation in detail. They provide us with a raft of communication right through from a school bag on a Friday afternoon that, you know, anything that's come up in the week that's changed. They give us any information, hazard notices to say, for example, you know, there's a cleaning product that's just been took off the shelves or something, you know, they'll let us know. So it's a one-stop shop for all of our information. They also provide a raft of information on roles, job descriptions, policies, risk assessments, you name it, they've got it. And, you know, if we think, oh, we could really do with something rolling out across our schools, they'll have some kind of best practice, or they'll maybe work with us to create that. They also provide us with, on our behalf, for any RIDDOR events. So RIDDOR events are incidents that have resulted in either a member of staff being off sick for a number of days. So I think it's 7 days, and it because of a workplace incident. So they could have maybe done a positive restraint on a child and pulled their back and has resulted in some sick leave. And it can also be to do with a pupil or a visitor or someone on our premises that has had to then that's hurt themselves and then had to have some kind of intervention from medical service. So they could have maybe had to go to hospital for an x-ray or something like that. So we have to report any type of incident that falls into that category to the health and safety executive, but the SLA provides us with a person who acts on our behalf to take us through that process. They investigate serious incidents and management of impact. So when we go through how we report incidents, if we put it on their portal, they review every single one and just make sure that we've done it properly and that we've uploaded everything. So should there be any complaints or comeback, that we're pretty watertight in our processes. They monitor our incidents, accidents and trends. So last week I had my annual update with them where we went through everything, and they talked about the violence and aggression, for example, saying that we were quite high. What were we doing about it? How are we reporting it? So they give us a bit of trust direction. They do site inspections. They support with school complaints. And they've also got an annual stress and wellbeing tool, which is really important nowadays, that we start referring, I think, to health and safety as health, safety and wellbeing, because our mental health is as important as our physical health. Finally, they do provide us with a a lot of pay-as-you-use services, so we can tap into them for fire risk assessments, water assessments, things like that we might need a specialist to come into our schools and do. Okay, so moving on to reporting accidents and near misses. This is something as a lab member that you will become quite involved in. So one of the questions you might be asking your health and safety leader or your head teacher out of the head teacher's report is maybe a little bit more information on some of this. So all of the schools will have a health and safety logbook in their school, and any type of near miss, so it could be a bit of carpet that's come up that someone could potentially trip over, violence and aggression, right, it could be verbal aggression right through to physical aggression, or an accident that's actually happened. The teacher or the member of staff will go into the office where it's kept and write a note, keep it in the logbook. The health and safety lead will then review the reports and make sure that any learning has been taken from that. And then they will put onto the My Health and Safety system anything that needs to be logged. What I mean by that is if anything's resulted in medical attention, so not what some schools would refer to as a wet paper towel incident, so, you know, a little bump on the head, but anything a bit more that's required a bit of first aid, bit more attention, they'd put it on the My Health and Safety system. Anything to do with members of staff, so that could be as small or as big, anything to do with members of staff would go on, and violence and aggression. So they put it on the system and they have to obviously give details and also upload any reports or statements. That is then reviewed by the health and safety team at Staffordshire, and they'll go through it and make sure that everything's been ticked off, and also if it then needs reporting as a RIDDOR. So that hopefully gives you a little bit of information on kind of what goes on there. The trust don't look at every incident that goes in the book in the office, but they do report on the things that have gone onto the My Health and Safety platform. So they're the types of things that you'll see in your head teacher's report or the health and safety report. Has anyone got any questions so far? Okay, I'll carry on. Right, training then. So we expect as a trust all of our schools to have a minimum of health and safety training for all staff, but then there is also what training do the specialist roles require. So to help them with that, we adopt the Staffordshire training matrix. So the training matrix, which I'll circulate after this or attach it onto National College, provides a matrix that goes through the different roles and responsibilities, and then what type of courses they should be going on and what type of qualifications they should have. And this falls into two categories. So we've got the essential. So your health and safety leads will have quite a lot of essential training. And then there's also desirable. So the things that, you know, might not be applicable, but is recommended, or stuff that you might want to do if you've done the essential, but you need a little bit more information and a little bit more training. We fund through the trust via the top slice a core offer, and the health and safety SLA is funded through that, but also we buy into something called National College. This is a one-stop shop for any virtual type of training that doesn't just encompass health and safety, but it also encompasses HR, curriculum, education, the latest information. So most of the courses that we insist on all staff doing virtual courses on National College. So things like health and safety overview, manual handling, things like that. We also have access to the Entrust physical and virtual portal as well. These are chargeable, but they're very reasonable rates. And I've put the link on there because I thought it might be interesting for you to kind of go on to there and see the types of and the variety of training that you can go on through Entrust. So the Entrust courses would be accessed by our health and safety leads, definitely. In things like fire marshal training, a fire risk assessment training, even some of our schools have got water safety training, things like that. So for this presentation, I've put on there what's on the matrix for governors. What should you have? So it's essential on the matrix that you should have some form of health and safety for governors training. And I clicked on the link yesterday, and Entrust have got some courses. They are virtual 2-hour courses, but they give you a really in-depth explore of the types of things as a governor that you should be aware of and you should be checking up that your school are doing. So if you've not been on that, I definitely urge you to go on that. And then in the desirable column for a governor, and the induction at school level. So this is part of training and you should put this on your records, but maybe doing something more school based. So what's specific to your school? And then there's also a health and safety for leaders and a risk assessment course on Entrust that is recommended in the desirable column. I've put some details there on the slides, which I'll circulate after. I've tried to put it all on the slide, so it's all a bit of a one-stop shop. So there's a contact number there for Entrust and then also for the National College as well. But of course, get in touch with your schools, your head teacher and your health and safety leader will be more than happy to help you with things like that. Is there any questions on training before I move on? Right, I'm not going to dwell too much on this because the next part of the training is on this and goes into a lot of detail, but the process that the school should be following every single year is in October. They complete the health and safety evaluation checklist. It is literally a tick list of have you got and have you done in lots of different areas. They should be sharing that with you. And also then I think as your roles, you should be supporting them and ensuring that those things that aren't ticked have been actioned. Similarly with the self-audit. So this is a much bigger document that takes them through every aspect of health and safety in their school. They fill this in January. All of our schools fill it in. It's compulsory. And we review it at the trust. And we also, the schools will also send it to the health and safety team at Staffordshire, and they'll review it as well. Now, what we do with this is it drives how we shape the next year of health and safety networking and the information that we provide. So, for example, this year, when we got them in, myself and Louise from Meadows and Springfield sat down, put them all on the table and started to kind of marry up the areas where our schools weren't getting those 4 and 5. So things like business continuity planning came out this year where we thought, right, we need to do a little bit more work on making sure that those plans are tested. So we identify things that are maybe across the trust that we can support them with. And also then the schools will do a bit of peer review as well. So we might match schools up that maybe are particularly strong in business continuity planning with schools that maybe have just started on their journey. And it just helps us, gives us that bit of intelligence, so we make sure that we're giving the schools what we need. Step 3, we've got the audits, which are provided by Staffordshire County Council. They come out and they will actually carry out an audit and then provide a report at the end. I'll give more information on that in the next presentation. So, meeting expectations. What's expected of our health and safety leads? So, we expect them to come to the health and safety network meeting. So that's half termly. It's only an hour and a quarter, but a lot is discussed in that hour and a quarter. It's where we disseminate information. All throughout that half term, we collect all the latest information and we'll give it to our health and safety leads at the meeting as well, in case it's been missed. We also ask our health and safety leads to bring anything that they want to talk about as well. So it's a really proactive group and they share things outside of meetings. But they might, for example, one of them might be looking to introduce a new method or a new policy, and they'll bring it to that meeting, and then lo and behold, you've got 5 other leads that are saying, yes, we were there last year, and they'll share that information. So it's really nice to see that cross school working. We also ask our schools to attend the head teachers briefing. So that's provided by Staffs County Council. It takes place each term. And it's there for heads, health and safety leads. You as a link governor could also attend if you wanted. And what they do is they hone into a topic. So the one that's just passed has been on accident reporting. There's been one on fire. So they pick a subject and they do a really deep dive training session into that, and then use it for other stuff as well. So if there's any questions that people want to take to there, so I get a report on who's attended those, and we see a real correlation between those schools that are scoring 4s and 5s in their audits are the ones that are attending. So I would urge you to ask your health and safety leads, have you attended head teachers briefing? And just say and give that encouragement to make the time. And if they haven't got the time, maybe ask the head teacher. Just, it's really important that they get to go to those for their own professional development. We also log that on as CPD as well on National College. Health and safety in the lab. What should you be getting from your health and safety leads? And if you're not, where can you get it from? And I absolutely appreciate that some of you will be further on and will have these processes and probably more with your schools. And I also appreciate that some you'll be new members, or you will just be starting out as part of the trust, and these will be new expectations and new things that you can put in place, and that's fine. But one thing to take away is that any questions that you've got, obviously speak to your health and safety leads or myself, and we can put things in place for your school that mean that you've got those that accountability. So I think as a good starting point, you should be sitting down with your health and safety leads and looking at the checklist in the audits that they do every year. I think that is a really good starting point to help understand what your school's strengths are and what are those areas that maybe they need to prioritise. All of those will have an action plan in, which the health and safety lead does. So it won't be a new thing, but it's just good to have someone that is understanding on the lab, that is aware of what the needs are of the school and can make sure that those are voiced in the lab meetings. I'd really encourage, I think health and safety is obviously everyone's responsibility, but to have a link member, to have a lead on the lab is a really successful piece of best practice. Someone that your health and safety lead can ring up if they're something major's happened at the school, to make them aware, and also someone that's got their back in the meetings. I think that's really good to have. In terms of reports and what's reported to your lab meeting, obviously the reports from the My Health and Safety system, I don't think you need to know every single incident, but the stuff that's reported on My Health and Safety is really important. And even if it's just some kind of overview, and then your health and safety lead maybe draws your attention to any RIDDOR incidents or anything that they're a little bit uncomfortable with, in terms of, this could maybe go to a complaint, or actually that was quite a serious incident, anything like that they maybe want to report to. But also, and this is really important, any health and safety celebrations as well, because I think with health and safety, it's really easy to miss the celebrations, and there are so many celebrations across all of our schools where there's been some learning applied, or that they've done really well in the self audit, things like that. So it's really important that we make sure that we look at health and safety with some type of celebration as well. And then your school should also be, and I think for those that aren't doing this yet, it's always been rolled out, hence why I've put this session on today, is an annual lab report. So not every school is adopting this, but there's a report on the SLN, and I know Jackie circulated it, and the report gives a bit of a deep dive into health and safety, and your health and safety leads should be filling that in and giving that to your lab every year, and it's picked up on as best practice. So during the inspections, they'll probably be asking for kind of proof of lab minutes and what's been discussed, SLT minutes. And if you've got that lab report that's going there every year, that is absolutely best practice. So we would really like to encourage that as a trust. And then I've touched on the action plans from the audits and self-audits. That's definitely something that that the schools could be feeding into the labs with. Like I said, I'll circulate these and I'll put them on National College. I've just put some other useful links on there. So I've talked about the SLN and the Staffordshire SLA that we buy into. This link here, your schools will have a password. It is a password entry one. It is an absolute one-stop shop for all things health and safety and the audit process. I've also put on there the key as well. So I think you may have access through Governor Hub to the key. If not, speak to your head teacher and they'll give you the key login. But again, there's loads and loads of information on health and safety. And in Governor Hub as well, there's loads of stuff on health and safety and the role of a governor. So there's a job description on there that kind of talks about what a link member would be doing. So if you're interested, then I'd definitely go and have a look at the key. I find the key really, really useful. I've kept this in, so I've adopted this presentation from what I give to schools when they join the trust and to the head teachers and the leads. There might not be anything really useful on there, but this is what I encourage your schools to do. So if you're a new school part of this trust, maybe as a health and safety lead, I'd encourage them to make sure that they've done all of these things. The schools that get on the SLN, because we're always saying that, oh, it's on the SLN, it's on the key, make sure they've actually had the time to log in and set up their accounts on these particular platforms. I would make note of this. Oh, sorry. I would make note of the health and safety. So shss@staffordshire.gov.uk, this email address here. This is the contact details for our health and safety advisors. No question is silly, too small or too big. I'm constantly emailing them, what do you think about this, or what about this? So last week, for example, we've got a member of staff who needs to bring sharps onto premises, and how do we support the school in managing that safely? And then within half an hour, you've got a really comprehensive answer back. So again, that's available for lab members. Feel free. Any issues with your school or anything governor related, they will be happy to get back to you on any questions. So that is the end of the first part of the presentation. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Has anyone got any questions on the induction process? Okay. I'm just going to stop the recording there. Somehow. There we go.